Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here. And now I didn't want to do this one. I had no choice, unfortunately. I didn't even want to see this movie. So please remember, while I'm reviewing this movie, it was not my fault that I saw this movie, that I hated it as much as I did. I didn't want to see it, and because here's the thing, we can only see so many movies per year since we're not making any money off of this as of now, and so I really just was not in the mood to see this movie. Just did not. I just kind of like, okay, yeah, I'll watch it whenever. But then I was forced to see it for a special occasion, and so I saw 1917. It feels like I'm sitting here surrounded by like just an army of people ready to kill me doing this video. It's like it feels so awkward because I hate this movie so much. It's not just because I don't like war movies, because this was really not a traditional war movie, and I was actually kind of excited about the story, and I thought maybe there's a chance that this will be good, since everyone else says it's good, and everyone else says all this stuff that I'm going to disprove. But the one big red flag to me was the one-shot gimmick. Basically, the movie, it's quote-unquote shot all in one shot. It never stops. There's no cutaways. They don't go to different camera angles. They're moving along with the character and through the whole movie, and it's sort of like you're floating through a river and you just never stop, and you're just floating through the story. And I think that that's actually one of the biggest problems with the movie. To me, it reminds me a lot of an interactive museum, with an old person narrating. Like, you know those museums where they build the sets that you can walk through? They have those areas where there's the figures, and they have the sets that you can walk onto and you can interact with. That's what this reminded me of. It really felt like they were sacrificing quality for the gimmick of the one shot, because there were so many bad shots in this movie, so many scenes where they would since it's one shot and they can't cut away, they have to move the camera around. They have to, slowly maneuver around and circle around and do this and do that. And it just looks so boring. And I got really bored watching this movie too. I started like trying to fight myself from falling asleep. I was like, God, when's this gonna end? Should I walk out and go watch Ford v Ferrari again? Because I actually looked up, because I don't like war movies, and so I looked up and I saw Ford v Ferrari's playing right next door, or the theater right next to us, and so I should go see that if I start falling asleep. But the thing is too, I didn't realize there could be a war movie worse than Dunkirk. I mean, I did not like Dunkirk. Part of it was I'm allergic to mosquitoes, and so while I was watching Dunkirk, I had this blister on my face, and it was like a mysterious blister, and it was just in pain the whole movie, and it was because a mosquito bit me there, but it was just a miserable experience, and I kept falling asleep because it was so boring, and I did not like the movie. But even with all that said, Dunkirk is a better movie. Dunkirk has better villains. It's more intense. The final fight is so much more exciting when Tom Hardy's in the plane and he has hardly any fuel left or no fuel at all, and he's trying to battle these horrible, evil villains in these planes, and like that movie's so much better than this. And it's sad though, because I mean I didn't want to hate this movie. It's just I didn't want to see it, and so I saw it, and I'm giving my real opinion of it. I thought that the acting was really good though. I thought that there was some terrific acting actually, and I thought that the score was great too, but they hardly ever used it. They would wait until these certain sequences, and all of a sudden the score would come on and it would be blasting, and then it would suddenly stop, and then they move on, the score comes on, it stops, and it would just go on and on and on like that. And there were some good scenes in this movie, but it's just got a lot of problems, a lot of stupid effing characters. Probably some of the stupidest characters I've ever seen in movies. And it's frustrating because people act like this is the only World War One movie ever made. They act like, oh my god, this is so revolutionary. No one makes World War One movies. And here's the thing. I learned about World War One in ninth grade, a class called World History with Mr. Ankrum, and I learned about it, and I'm done with it. And I know that sounds bad, but I mean, we even watched a movie. We watched this fantastic movie called All Quiet on the Western Front. We watched the remake, and I love that movie. I thought that movie was actually really good, and like that movie is so much better and so much more intense than this movie, and it came out in the 70s. So I don't really know what people are talking about with this movie. Again, I'm not trying to say that the movie's horrible. It's certainly I mean, it's worse than The Irishman, but it's not the worst. I mean, I'm not gonna say that it's like a bad movie. It's just I did not like the choices that characters made in this movie. I did not like the camera work, the way that the way that the camera was one shot, and they kept having to what do you call it? Excuse. They kept having to excuse the one shot thing to continue it. There's this moment in the film that happens, and it's like a major moment, and there's no one around to help. And then after something happens, all of a sudden there's like a huge convoy of people and vehicles, and they're there to take the main characters, take them away, and whatever. I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm kind of like trying to, convolute your brains with this, but it's just like, oh, okay, oh, now there's a vehicle that shows up so that we can go sit in the vehicle and we can continue having this be one shot. And it's like, oh, okay, isn't that convenient? Oh, okay. And then there's another moment in the movie where the character goes in a certain place down under somewhere. And it just, oh, okay, yeah, there you go. And there's some time issues too. Time. This movie is one shot, yet the movie's time is just completely inaccurate. I know this is going to sound queer, but we never see the characters go to the bathroom. We really hardly ever see them eat. And the time, like the night time, lasts for like 10 minutes. There'll be a different time. It lasts for like 1 minute. And it's like, how does time work in this world? This is a weird world where nighttime just lasts for like 5 minutes. And so that was really weird. But overall, I mean, I did not like this movie. There were some good parts. There was one particular part where there was a real human character and he was singing, and I thought that was beautiful, and I thought that it really it reminded me of The Man Who Knew Too Much, when they're in the opera house, or not the opera, the concert hall, whatever, and they're playing the music, and the character, they know that they have to do something, and it's just they're standing there, they don't know what to do, and it's just tension, nothing but tension in that sequence. But it really wasn't that intense because it was kind of pissing me off, all the stupid choices, some of the stupid moments, the stupid characters. I mean, this character, he's supposed to be a hero, but he acts like it's an inconvenience for him to have to go do this mission in the first place. And I'll talk more about this in the spoilers, because I don't want to spoil it for people who are excited about this movie. But yeah, I just did not like it. It did feel short. That was a good thing, because a lot of movies nowadays, they just go on and on and on. And this movie was just plain 2 hours long. It really felt too short at some points because of the whole one shot thing. Like they could not extend it any longer for some reason. They had to get the sequence over with, and then they're done. But yeah, my rating for this movie, let's just go ahead and get it over with. I know people are already thumbing down the video, which I don't really care, because it's my opinion, and just remind yourself, I didn't want to see it, but I had to, and so that's my opinion. I give this movie an Impossible Burger. And I know you're like, what? An Impossible Burger? Yes, because the Impossible Burger is a gimmick food, just like this movie. It's it all takes place within one shot. Isn't that amazing? It's one shot. It's so revolutionary. And and what I think that they should have done, by the way, is I think they should have had sequences where it was one shot. I think that there was a sequence at the end where the one shot thing actually worked perfectly, and I won't give that away, but that was really, really cool, and I felt it in that sequence. But other than that, I don't think this movie should have been one shot, and I think that if it wasn't one shot, people wouldn't have given this movie as much leeway as they have been. And so the Impossible Burger, people say, oh my god, it's so revolutionary, it's a burger that tastes like a burger, but it isn't a burger. And here's the thing though, it's gross, it's stale, and what I mean by stale is it was cold, it tastes like just stuff, just like you're munching on oatmeal, with burger flavoring added into it. It doesn't taste like real meat, like natural, healthy meat that you're eating. It gave me gas. It gave me a headache for hours after eating it. It made me feel so sick, that Impossible Burger. Ugh. And it's not because of food poisoning or anything. It's because of the burger and all the crappy stuff that's in it. Just a bunch of chemicals, bunch of junk, like this movie, and there was no reason to make it this way. You could have made a good burger, but instead you had to go, oh, look at me, I'm making this clever vegan burger, and it doesn't have any meat in it, and it tastes like a burger, and so the cleverness really lets you down, as well as all the mistakes with the ingredients themselves, just like all the mistakes with the characters in this movie. And that's simply what I give it. I can't give it anything else, just a plain old Impossible Burger. No toppings, no cheese, no bun, and because it's war, it is war, so you just get the patty. And so that's what I give this movie. I hate Impossible Burgers. After that one time that I had one, I'll never eat one of those things again. And to top it all off, I watched Mindhunter while I was eating that Impossible Burger, and so as if it was already a horrible experience, it got even worse because I was watching that dreadful, depressing show with all the color sucked out of it, and I was in misery. I was in misery, and that's what this movie was for me. It was misery. And now let's get to effing spoilers. This is by the same guy who did American Beauty, right? In American Beauty, I've talked about this before. There's this one kind of stupid shot where the woman is lying is in the bed, and there's all these roses that are falling down on her, and she's surrounded by roses, and it looks so stupid, and it's so dumb, and it's such a pretentious, artsy, fartsy shot. And in this in this movie, there's a shot exactly like that. The main character, he's in a river for another thing I'll talk about, and in the river there's all these flowers that are floating all over him and all around, all around him, and it just was so stupid, and it was like, oh, oh, of course, because you did American Beauty, he's got a flower fetish. The guy who made this has a fetish for flowers. I don't know what else to say. It's weird. He needs to direct a fairy tale or something, because it would work better in like a fairy tale or like a fantastical movie type of thing. It didn't. It was so dumb. And then the opening shot of this movie, it was just this flower field, because it's the flower field next to his friend who gets killed, by the way. And the character choices in this movie were so bad, so poor. First off, in the opening sequence, they're in the trenches, and they say to keep your heads down. What do these soldiers do? They don't do it jack shit. They keep their heads up, they ignore it, and they never get sniped or anything, because but they didn't know for sure that the Germans were gone. And so it was so stupid how these have their heads up. They're not lowering their heads. What is that supposed to be? They're heroic because they're stupid? Because they won't lower their heads? They won't, come on, just be smart. And then the main character, he's holding this barbed wire. He doesn't have any gloves, by the way, which I don't know why that is. And he's opening up the barbed wire, and then he cuts himself in the hand, and what does he do? He washes it off, and then he immediately puts his hand in the mud, in a dead, rotting body, and on his dirty ass gun. And then guess what he does? Only after that does he put a bandage on it. Like, what the hell? You just why would you even wash it if you're gonna put it in dirt and then put a bandage on it? I mean, how dumb could you get? And then this little whiny piece of shit character, he acts like it's an inconvenience for him to have to go save these people, to have to go deliver this message, and he complains, and it's irritating. And then of course they give him a motivation by his friend getting killed, by him doing a stupid thing too. And so finally he has a motivation to save thousands of people. That's what it felt like. And I could understand him being afraid and everything. It's just, it felt so predictable and sort of cliche, where you have like a friend, and he's helping his friend out. He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't believe in him. His friend dies, and then he takes charge. It's cliche. That's so cliche. And then there's so many cliche war movie tropes too that really lessen this movie even more. And then let's talk about the big issue, the big mistake. They're sitting in this farm area, and they're watching, and they're literally commentating on this. One of them says, "Oh, look, they're fighting. These 3 planes are fighting. Oh, look, the German guy is outnumbered 2-1. Oh, look, he hit him." And they hit him. And so the British planes win, and they shoot down the German plane, and then the German plane, he literally crashes into these two soldiers on purpose. Like, he sees them and he purposefully guides the plane to them. And so after all that, guess what this little dipshit does? He rescues the German soldier, the enemy soldier, out of the burning plane. And then it's supposed to be a big shock that he gets stabbed, that he would stab him. Oh my god, it's such a shock that the enemy is gonna stab you. Like, what the hell? It's just so stupid that you rescued an enemy soldier out of an enemy plane after you literally just saw him getting shot down, and then him purposefully crashing towards you. I mean, come on. So dumb. And what else? Oh yeah. The time. Speaking of the time, there's this part where the main character, he runs into this underground hideout with this woman and a random baby, conveniently a baby, so that he has a purpose for having stolen the milk or gotten the milk from the farmland. Oh wow, that's so convenient. And so but basically what happens, what I wanted to pick at, was he's having a conversation for like 10 minutes with this woman, and of course, you know, that's another war movie trope. The soldier meets a woman, a foreign woman, and then they bond, and then she gives him food or she comforts him. Like, that's something we've seen before. And then immediately after this 10-minute dialogue scene, she's like, oh, it's morning, you can't go now, they're gonna see you. And then he leaves, of course. But also, I can't remember if it was before or after this. I think it was after. He goes into this building. There's a drunk German walking around, and then there's another German, and he covers the German's mouth. And he says, "Will you be quiet? Be quiet. Will you be quiet if I uncover my hand?" And the German guy nods his head. And then what happens? What do you think happens? He uncovers his hand, and then the German starts yelling, and he has to kill him. But the thing is, how stupid could you be to think that a German could understand your English? Like, this is a German soldier, it's World War I, and you're gonna trust that he can understand, oh, will you be quiet if I take my hand off? You really think that's realistic? I mean, what is this with this movie with, like, thinking that the enemy is the good guy? I mean, what is this? It's just so stupid. And what it does, what they're trying to do is they're, like, trying to say, oh, look, these are scared kids. They don't know what to do. They do stupid things. But they're in all this danger, and so you're supposed to feel in danger. And it just doesn't work. It's horrible. And then to top that all off, sorry, my voice doesn't sound good, does it? After all this talking, he gets chased by the bad guys, and then he conveniently falls into this river that I'm not joking. This river literally carries him to the exact location he needs to be for the climax of the movie. I mean, that's dumb. Another thing to continue the one-shot gimmick. How do we continue the one-shot gimmick so that this movie can be 2 hours long, so that it can all be in quote-unquote real time? Oh, he falls in the river, and the river takes him exactly where he needs to go. I mean, God, that's so dumb. But then, there's some cool stuff, whatever. People have talked about the cool stuff. I don't need to. I mean, I like the scene at the beginning where there's this guy, I can't remember exactly who he was. He was advising them what to do and how to navigate the field, or I mean the whatever, the no man's land. And he gives him a flare gun. I like that scene because I thought that was kind of like preparing you for danger. It sounded like it's just the movie just, it had no sense of danger. It had no suspense. It had nothing. No tension at all. I got really bored. I was like, what, is there anything that's going to happen sometime? And then stuff would happen a little bit here and there. And I liked that scene though. I thought that kind of built up a little tension. And then I liked the scene where the soldier is singing to all the soldiers that are about ready to go into battle. I thought that was cool. And then I loved that sequence where he's running through the trenches in the climax, and he's running on top of the ongoing battlefield, even though it's stupid because he should have been killed. I thought it was cool. Again, with the thing of like, oh, he's so brave for being stupid and not being smart. Because he could have easily gotten shot, and then what would have happened? More people would have gotten killed. But I like that sequence, and so yeah, but that's it. That's really it. I did not feel for the character getting killed, his friend. I did not really feel any sort of emotion whatsoever. I was bored. By the end, I was pissed off because I thought there's so much stupid stuff in this movie that I'm gonna have to talk about, and I hated the fact that I hated the movie when everyone else loved it. But that's just how it happened. That's just what happened. I mean, there's nothing I can do about the movie's mistakes. They made these mistakes, not me. But the thing is, I love the acting, I love the score, I loved a couple of sequences, but that's it. That is it. This movie was bad. It does not deserve to be winning Best Picture. It did not deserve to be nominated over Uncut Gems. Again, Uncut Gems was snubbed. I'll talk about that in a separate video where I talk about why I'll never respect the Oscars again. But yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you soon.